Layla Al-Fahad and Rami Zayed seemed like neighbors bound by nothing more than proximity, but a forbidden attraction between Dubai's elite young socialite and a married businessman would spiral into obsession, betrayal, and murder. Layla Al-Fahad moved through the glittering halls of Dubai's most exclusive social clubs with the ease of someone born into wealth, her every step seemingly choreographed to perfection. At 24, she was already a well-known figure among the city's elite, admired for her beauty, elegance, and effortless charm. Her social media feeds were filled with images of luxurious yachts, designer gowns, and rooftop parties where the city's skyline stretched endlessly behind her. To an outsider, her life appeared flawless, the kind that many would envy, yet beneath the polished surface lay a restless curiosity and a hunger for something more. Despite the luxury that surrounded her, Layla often felt like a prisoner of her own status. The endless obligations, the carefully curated friendships, and the pressure to maintain her image weighed heavily on her. While her peers celebrated wealth and appearances, Layla longed for unpredictability, a taste of life beyond scripted events and staged photographs. Her days were punctuated by endless brunches, shopping trips, and charity galas, but her nights were her own, and it was during these quiet hours that she began to question the life she had been given. She wandered the streets of her neighborhood, observing the world outside her elite bubble, captivated by the ordinary lives of those who moved freely without expectation or scrutiny. The contrast between her gilded existence and the raw, unscripted world beyond her social circle awakened a sense of daring inside her. She began seeking experiences that would break the monotony, small rebellions that gave her a thrill and a sense of independence. It was in this restless search for freedom and excitement that Layla's path would intersect with someone who would change her life forever, setting in motion a chain of events that would lead to obsession, danger, and ultimately tragedy. Across the hall from Layla's opulent apartment lived Rami Zayed, a man who seemed to command attention without effort. At 38, he carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone who had built a successful life from both charm and calculation. Rami was married, his 10-year union with Samira often described by neighbors as enviable, a perfect partnership in Dubai's elite social circles. Yet behind the polished image, Rami was restless, craving validation and experiences beyond the predictable rhythm of family life. Their first encounters were fleeting, a polite nod in the lobby, a brief exchange near the elevators, but Layla noticed something magnetic about him, an aura of control mixed with mystery. Rami, for his part, was aware of her presence, intrigued by the young woman who seemed both confident and vulnerable, someone whose life was visible yet untouchable. Over time, those casual encounters grew longer, their paths crossing more deliberately in the shared spaces of their building. Layla found herself drawn to the enigma of his persona, a worldliness she had never encountered among her usual circle of friends. The spark between them was subtle at first, almost imperceptible, a thrill of curiosity that neither could fully articulate. Rami's marriage added an unspoken tension, a dangerous line that should not be crossed, yet the allure of secrecy made every moment more intoxicating. Each glance, each shared smile carried a weight that neither could ignore, creating a magnetic pull toward something forbidden. What began as simple fascination quietly evolved, laying the foundation for a connection that was thrilling, yet increasingly perilous. Neither could predict how this dangerous attraction would escalate, nor the lengths to which desire and obsession would eventually drive them, forever altering the lives of everyone involved. Late nights became their secret world, a hidden life that existed in the shadows of Dubai's gleaming towers. Layla and Rami's encounters grew bolder, moving from fleeting hallway exchanges to stolen moments in quiet cafes, secluded hotel lounges, and empty parking garages. Each meeting was a careful balance of thrill and risk, a dangerous dance they could not resist. Layla felt alive in a way she never had among the superficial chatter of her social circle, intoxicated by the attention and the danger of their clandestine connection. Rami, too, seemed rejuvenated, shedding the routine of his meticulously planned life for moments of reckless passion. They communicated through coded messages, obscure social media accounts, and hurried phone calls, always careful to leave no trace that could reveal their liaison. The secrecy made every glance, every touch, feel magnified, as if the world had narrowed to just the two of them. Yet even in their exhilaration, tension lingered beneath the surface. Layla noticed the way Rami's eyes sometimes flickered with guilt, and she felt a pang of jealousy when glimpsing the life he maintained outside their stolen encounters. Despite the warnings of intuition and the obvious risks, she became increasingly consumed, spending hours planning the next meeting, imagining scenarios, and documenting details that would later become part of her obsession. Friends began to notice changes in her behavior, missed appointments, distracted conversations, and a quiet intensity that was out of character, but Layla dismissed it, telling herself the excitement was worth the danger. In the glittering city where appearances were everything, their affair thrived in the shadows, growing more intense, more dangerous, and edging closer to a point where secrecy alone would no longer be enough to contain the storm they were creating. Rumors began to stir quietly at first, like a soft whisper brushing against the edges of Layla's carefully constructed world. Small inconsistencies drew attention: an unfamiliar car parked near her apartment late at night, a social media post vaguely hinting at hidden meetings, subtle changes in her routine. Neighbors exchanged curious glances, and the building's security cameras captured glimpses of movement that did not fit the ordinary rhythm of daily life. Meanwhile, Rami's wife, Samira, a perceptive and meticulous woman, began noticing patterns that did not align with her husband's explanations. She observed his late-night absences, the way his phone was guarded, and his sudden bouts of distraction. The tension in the building grew almost imperceptibly, like a storm forming just beyond the horizon. Layla, still intoxicated by the thrill of the affair, began sensing eyes on her, feeling the weight of suspicion pressing closer with each passing day. She tried to maintain appearances, attending parties and social events with the same polished charm, yet her mind was preoccupied, calculating every step, every message, every encounter. The more she tried to hide, the more the cracks appeared. For Rami, the balancing act became increasingly unbearable. He oscillated between desire and fear, knowing that one misstep could destroy the lives he had carefully built. The once thrilling secrecy now carried a sharp edge, a dangerous tension that neither could fully control. Each interaction carried a heightened risk, and every glance between them was charged with unspoken anxiety. What had begun as a forbidden adventure was now a precarious tightrope walk, where discovery lurked in every shadow, and the consequences of exposure threatened to unravel everything they had sought to protect. Layla's fascination with Rami had begun as a thrilling secret, but over time it transformed into something far more consuming and dangerous. She found herself thinking about him constantly, analyzing every interaction, every subtle expression, and imagining what he might be doing when they were apart. Her days were filled with anxiety and anticipation, and her nights with sleepless plotting of their next encounter. Simple routines became opportunities to observe him, tracking his movements, noting the times he left and returned, and piecing together patterns that gave her a sense of control over their fragile connection. The excitement that once defined their affair now carried a sharp edge of obsession, and jealousy gnawed at her whenever Rami interacted with anyone else. Even innocent exchanges with colleagues or friends sparked vivid, paranoid imaginings in her mind. Layla began leaving anonymous messages, subtle hints designed to test his attention and commitment, while simultaneously documenting his every move in secret journals and on her phone. She felt an intoxicating sense of power in knowing things about him that no one else did, yet this power also fed her insecurity, heightening her need to dominate the relationship entirely. Rami, sensing the shift, grew increasingly cautious and withdrawn, but Layla's determination only intensified. What had been passionate secrecy now teetered on the edge of danger. Her obsession consumed her identity, eclipsing friends, family, and even her own well-being. The city's glamorous streets masked her growing instability, and those who glimpsed her occasional glare or heard of her erratic behavior sensed that something was amiss. Layla's mind had become a labyrinth of desire, suspicion, and fear, setting the stage for decisions that would soon push the affair from forbidden love into fatal consequences. Layla's world shifted the moment she realized Rami intended to end their affair. The revelation hit her like a storm, shattering the illusion of control she had clung to so desperately. Anger, betrayal, and heartbreak mingled in her mind, twisting her obsession into something darker, something lethal. She began plotting with meticulous care, studying Rami's routines, noting every predictable movement, every vulnerability she could exploit. Her once secret meetings now fueled a calculated plan, a strategy born from desperation and a desire for revenge. She collected small tools, observed exits and entrances, and mentally rehearsed each step, imagining scenarios where she could confront him without being caught. The glamour of her social life provided the perfect cover, hiding her growing instability beneath smiles and elegant dresses, while her thoughts were consumed by the impending confrontation. She even studied the habits of his wife, Samira, to ensure there would be no interruptions, to anticipate every possible obstacle. Every choice, every action, was a piece of a larger design that only she understood. In her mind, the thrill of control and the intensity of her emotions made the plan feel inevitable, justified. The city's dazzling lights seemed to blur around her, a backdrop to her obsessive calculations, as if Dubai itself conspired to hide the darkness she was preparing to unleash. What had begun as desire and passion had evolved into meticulous scheming, a quiet, simmering danger that threatened to erupt at any moment. Layla's obsession had crossed a line from which there was no turning back, and the path she had chosen was poised to end in tragedy, changing the lives of everyone around her forever. The night air was heavy and still, the quiet streets of Dubai's upscale neighborhood belying the storm that was about to erupt. Layla had chosen the moment carefully, waiting until the city's glittering nightlife had drawn most residents away. Her heart pounded with a mix of fear and exhilaration as she approached Rami's building, every step measured, every breath controlled. She knew exactly where he would be, the paths he would take, and the routines that had once seemed mundane now became the keys to executing her plan. The confrontation began quietly, a tense face-to-face encounter that quickly escalated as Rami tried to reason, to calm, to appeal to the fragment of their past connection. But Layla's mind was fixed, her obsession having eclipsed any sense of morality or restraint. The argument spiraled into chaos, fueled by betrayal, desperation, and years of pent-up longing and jealousy. In a moment that would haunt the city's elite for years, Layla struck, her actions sudden and violent, ending Rami's life in the shadowed quiet of the night. Panic surged immediately afterward, but she moved with a chilling determination, attempting to erase traces of her presence, to mask the crime under the ordinary veil of daily life. The streets that had once seemed safe and familiar now felt like accomplices, the darkness hiding what she had done while the distant hum of the city continued unaware. Dubai's elite, accustomed to wealth and glamour shielding them from scandal, would soon be forced to confront the shocking reality. Layla's carefully hidden obsession had erupted into fatal violence, leaving a trail of devastation and disbelief in its wake, proving that even in the most polished lives, darkness can lurk just beneath the surface. The aftermath of the murder sent ripples through Dubai's elite community, shattering the illusion of perfection that Layla and Rami had carefully maintained. Authorities quickly pieced together evidence, security camera footage, phone records, and digital messages all pointed toward Layla, revealing a meticulous trail that betrayed her attempts to hide the truth. Neighbors and friends were stunned, unable to reconcile the glamorous socialite they knew with the calculated violence she had committed. Investigators reconstructed the timeline, uncovering the secret meetings, the obsessive surveillance, and the meticulous planning that had preceded the tragedy. As the investigation deepened, Layla's carefully curated world began to crumble. Friends who had once envied her wealth and lifestyle now questioned every interaction, every subtle hint of her inner turmoil. Media coverage amplified the shock, portraying a young woman whose beauty and privilege had masked a dangerous obsession. Samira, Rami's wife, grappled with the betrayal and the loss, her life forever altered by the secret that had festered behind closed doors. Layla's arrest was swift, her demeanor a mixture of defiance and despair as the full scope of her actions came to light. The courtroom became a stage for the unraveling of her double life, exposing the dark side of passion, obsession, and the extremes of human emotion. What had begun as an illicit affair and an exciting rebellion against monotony ended in irreversible tragedy, a stark reminder that desire and obsession can consume even the most glamorous lives. The story closed not with romance or thrill, but with caution, leaving a haunting imprint, beneath the glittering surface of wealth and privilege, darkness can grow unnoticed, and the consequences of unchecked obsession can be deadly.